At 4:03 p.m. and we are going to go ahead and get started with roll call. Senator Bigd.
Present.
Senator Abdi. Senator Abdi. Senator Gustafson.
Here.
Senator Gabbard.
Here.
Senator Vondra.
Here.
Senator Alimo.
Present.
Senator Mendonça.
Here.
Senator Parte.
Here.
Senator Salim.
Present.
Senator Nemo.
Here.
Senator Hawk.
Here.
Senator Khan. Senator Khan. Senator Pham.
Present.
Senator El-Sadi. Senator El-Sadi. Senator Albera.
Here.
Senator Osman. Senator Osman. Senator Stiff.
I'm here.
Okay.
Here.
Senator Nelson.
Here.
Senator Sweeney.
Here.
Senator Wickman.
Here.
Senator Ruiz. Senator Ruiz. Senator Wheeler.
Here.
Senator Obasi.
Present.
Senator Habibullah, could you?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, how do you pronounce that? Could you say that again for me?
You can call me Thomas.
Okay. Senator Bejarano.
Here.
Senator Okawa.
Here.
Senator Flynn.
Here.
Senator Hopwood.
Here.
Senator Novak.
Howdy.
Senator Mecklenburg.
Here.
President Trini.
Here. Oh, sorry.
Vice President Maltari.
Salutations.
Perfect. And myself. So we are going to get rolling today. We have a couple presentations, but first off, I'm going to hand the floor to IT Solutions.
Well, I know you've seen me before, but I'm really looking forward to telling you about one of the big efforts we have going on campus. And some of you have heard parts of this before or seen this presentation or what looks like this presentation, but I've got some big updates. And so it's kind of one of those, where's Walt? You'll keep watching. You're going to see something new in here someplace, so keep your eye on it. But first, before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about an upcoming project. Oh, no, what's the word I'm looking for? Something that's upcoming. How about that? And that's called Microsoft March. Now, we had this ready to go last year, and we were going to have a really big effort to show everyone how to use some of these incredible tools that, yeah, although all of us use some of the Microsoft products every day, there are so many unique and incredible features. So what we've done is we put together a whole set of, and I'll show you in the next page, a set of introductions, webinars, and those of you that are in Zoom, which is everybody, you can scan that little code right now, or you can go look, and we'd encourage you to participate. Last March, we were ready, but I don't know if you remember, something happened. We didn't really pull it off. We kind of got busy. We did other stuff, but this is going to be good. So I encourage you to enjoy Microsoft March and learn some things that you can use in your classes or just in life in general. So that's what I wanted to tell you about. But my main presentation today is about Ask Stomper. And I know a couple of you've seen some of this, but this is some really new and exciting changes that are coming your way and are already available to you. So what Ask Stomper is if you think about FlexSync in the classroom, it's a way to go about doing some things differently in the classroom. Ask Stomper is our new model in which we're going to continue to provide what we think is going to be an improved service to students. So when you need services from MSU, this new Ask Stomper model is the place that we're going to be doing that. So I'm going to tell you a little more about it. And I start off with an introduction. And yeah, you see my face there. It's not the same, but the same person, just a little different face. But what I used to always do at the beginning of fall and was when we were more on campus, right? And I hope to do it again, is walk around the campus and see people who are just getting there and are having some challenges. They're not sure where to go. They're not sure what to do. And I walk up and I talk to them. And what I do is I stay with those folks until they get the services they need. The challenge that we face is it's not always easy finding the right place and finding the right folks that have the answers you need to your service needs at the institution. So we've come up with a new way of doing it, a new mechanism to, number one, our continual goal is to serve students. Just real quick, since we started this in March of last year, we've had over 18,000 conversations with students inside of this concept or this mechanism called Ask Stomper. 40% of those take place between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. What's important about that is it's a traditional time that we don't offer any services, right? The campus is closed. 40% of the questions and the challenges that students are having and that they need help with are happening after hours. And if you see, wait for my very last slide, I'm going to tell you one other fact that's really important. I'll skip this area, but the top 5 areas in our pilot, you can see right here. So I've kind of identified the problem, right? The current problem is students are often have to shuffle around from office to office to get a question answered. And sometimes it's not a really super consistent experience. What we want to do is change that. So that line going across right here is the new solution. It's called One Stop for All Questions. And it's a combination, not sure the question that you're asking and they don't know the answer, that we're net based and provide you as students with virtual kiosks, places you can come walk up even though that person isn't there. So we're trying to for students going from place to place, trying to get their questions answered. We're trying to give people seeking answers after hours support. Now that's not just online students. Some of us are, most of our students are maybe on campus, but they still need service after hours. And then it's a tool for our advisors, our faculty. I mentioned the service faculty folks that are friends of mine and I presented to them. John's one of those service faculty members, I believe. We want to have the answers for you. And so this is a new tool that they have, we all have available to us. So this one is when I'm telling other people about this amazing project that we're working on campus, I like to tell them about how the university benefits, but for this audience, not as important, okay, right? We want to keep focus on one stop, one solution for you as students. And so really the important part of this slide is right here. A happy student, that's the goal, see? And he's happy. He's happy because he's using Ask Stomper and it's working for him. And you keep looking, there'll be more students in these pictures and they're gonna be happy. You might not be able to see their face, but you look at their eyes and you tell me if they're happy or not. Wow, right there. There's a happy student. Can't see the smile, but you can see the eyes and there's a happy student. That's the goal. So what is this all about? Well, when the March challenge came our way, we quickly realized even as IT that we didn't have a way to get our services to our students. So we quickly put something in place, kind of a pilot of live chat, and you can get to our website and we would help you through the live chat function we added. But then we also found that some of the organization, student financial services, the campus hub and admissions, were all using a product called Ask Purdy, and it was basically a chat bot. And so what we did is quickly took that chat bot, rebranded as Ask Stomper, so part of this model, and we had a 2,436% increase in the chatbot usage almost immediately. So very quickly, we've had over 33,577 interactions inside the chatbot, which is one of many features of this Ask Stomper model. Over the summer, we started to add partners, and this is where the exciting part comes in, because the next slide, I'm going to show you how many partners across campus are part of this model. And if you saw this presentation before, it's a different number. It's radically different. Our long-term goal is this Ask Stomper will be fully integrated across the campus for any service you need, hopefully by December. Whether you're coming on campus for the first time or you're needing some support because you've been on campus. So as I mentioned, this is all about partners. This isn't about IT. I come and talk to you about IT, and IT is a part of this, but really it is a whole set of tools. The chatbot I mentioned, the live chat, a thing called case management. How do we make sure that when a student starts on a challenge, we work with them until the end? How do we make sure knowledge base that people have an answer to a question that they may not know the answer to help a student out? That's the knowledge base. We also are getting into a marketing platform, text messaging, other ways to communicate with students. But what you notice here is we have departments who are partnering with us and all the features they're starting to use. And if you saw this presentation a little while ago, if you came to one of my other meetings, you will see that there's a lot more green yeses here. And this number here was 42. It's almost doubled since I started these presentations about a month ago. Partners are coming. Why are they coming to this? Why are they interested? Because we all jointly want to serve you as students. And so we're excited about a mechanism that we can do that. 16 departments are using the chatbot now. 19 departments are using the internal knowledge base, the way to get answers. So I went from one slide with a few yeses and some no's and some P's, whatever that means. I forgot, partial, to 2 slides. And we're expanding even further as of we speak. Every time I present this, I have another group that says, I want in. And we're starting to provide that service. So I'm almost done. All for one. This is a unifying way to help students and employees succeed in the servicing of students. We want all the students on board, in IT and others have dedicated staff and committed time and energy to make this happen for you. And by the way, if you do use one of the features, which is the chat bot, over 90% of the questions that are asked in the chatbot are answered in the chatbot. And that frees people up to answer the harder questions and spend more time with you if you have things that don't fit with the chatbot. I also mentioned at the beginning how a lot of these calls are between 5 at night and 8 in the morning. 20% of them are on Saturdays and Sundays. Again, a time very underserved by our team, by our university. This is a way that students can get the service they need during the times that they want it. That's the end of the presentation, but I always have one final word. And that is, for those of you that are in charge of things, I want you to tell you can get involved and help me help students by just getting a hold of me, Mark Johnson, or sending a note off. But students, what I would like from you is get the word out about what this is all about. Encourage people to use it. Encourage people who use those features to tell me more about how they're working or not working. And if you know of people that provide service to you, make sure you mention it to them. It's a great tool and it's available for all. So that's all I had. I don't know that probably a lot of questions, but I wanted to get a chance to just tell you about this kind of exciting project that we're working on behalf of students.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for Vice President Johnson? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, I have John Bulcock.
Great, thank you, speakers. First, Andrew Cheney is going to be helping me with this presentation here. I'm working from home today, and he's going to help me with the files there. But as we get ready to get into the budget season for student government, it's one of the most significant times of the year for student government. I just want to make sure that folks are prepared. You're going to hear me talk about that quite a bit because my biggest piece of advice for you over the course of the next several weeks is to be prepared. And so I'm going to take a few minutes and go through kind of what you're going to be able to expect in the next few weeks. We're going to flip between this presentation and some other files that are available for you, because in the Microsoft Teams for student government, you can find all of this stuff now. It's been moved there and is available to you, especially since we're going to be doing our meetings virtually still. We want you to be able to access the information. Oftentimes there's a lot of paper that gets handed out at these meetings. That ain't going to happen this year. And so you're going to need to be able to access the resources electronically in the Teams folder. So we'll go ahead and get started. Andrew, if you want to go ahead and.
Yes, bear with me. My computer is very slow for whatever reason.
Okay. So a little bit about our process here. We have several departments on campus that are funded through student fees. Student fees is the general phrase for those fees that you pay. They may be the student activity fee, the athletics fee, the student union fee, the technology fee, the student health fee. These are all student fees. And so we're going to talk about, sometimes people get student fees and student activities fees mixed up. The student activity fee is a student fee, but the others are student fees as well. So we operate on what's called the fiscal year. The fiscal year for the university begins July 1st every year. And the fiscal year, so for example, we are in fiscal year 21 right now, meaning we are in the fiscal year that ends in 2021. And so what we are planning for right now is for fiscal year 22. It's the year that will start July 1st of 2021 and end on June 30th of 2022. The student activity fee is a fee that funds several departments on campus. There are a lot of your student life fees. There are some our student life departments. There are some examples would be student activities. Student activities comes from student activity fees. Campus recreation comes from student activity fees. There are multicultural programs that come from student activity fees. The green transportation fee, your campus bus is actually funded through the student activity fee. And so there are a whole bunch of other ones that go along to it. And that's the big budget that people think of during our budget process. How those departments work is they present a request to the Student Allocations Committee, SAC, and those have been taking place since, I want to say, January 21st-ish, somewhere in there. I was the very first group to present, actually, for SAC, and they are wrapping up with their last presentations this coming Friday. So those groups present their budget request to the Student Allocations Committee over about a month. 4 or 5 weeks is how long it takes. The other student fee funded areas, technology, student union, student health services, and I'm missing the other one. Oh, athletics. Those are groups that will present their fee request and recommendation directly to the student government. So when the groups that are part of the student activity fee present to SAC, SAC's going to deliberate this weekend and come up with a recommendation for student government. And that recommendation is what's going to be presented to student government at the meeting on March 3rd, the week before spring break. So student government will then deliberate on the SAC recommendations. And I believe the date for that is March 17th, I want to say, is our long budget meeting. And so student government will deliberate the SAC recommendations. They can make adjustments to it. And then they will approve an overall recommendation for the student activity fee budget. The other budget line items at that meeting on the 17th, is my date right, Senator or Speaker Spursel, the 17th?
That's what I have.
Okay, got it. So we will be doing the deliberation on the 17th. At that meeting, we will also consider the intercollegiate athletics fee. And part of the reason why we will consider those two budgets in the same meeting is because if student government recommends an increase of more than 2% to either of those fees, it has to go to the student body for a vote. The technology fee, the student union fee, and the student health services fee will all be considered at the meeting on March 24th. And that's when you will vote on them. But they will have been presented to you before then. So actually next week we have our first 2 fee presentations. The CSU is going to present their fee request, and technology is also going to, IT Solutions is going to present their fee as well next week for your information. Once we get all of these fee recommendations, so on March 17th, we're going to do athletics and the student activity fee. On March 24th, we're going to do tech, student health, and the student union fee. Once all of those are voted on by student government, I put together a nice pretty package and send it all to Dr. David Jones, Vice President for Student Affairs, who will review it and make a recommendation to President Davenport for approval. Once President Davenport signs off on it, it goes to the Board of Trustees at the Min State office for approval. So, any questions about that process before we move on? Okay.
Are there any questions?
He's trying to go to the next slide for me here.
Okay, I don't see any. You can go on.
Oh, sorry. I'm also recording, so my computer is very slow. So
got it. Okay. So like I mentioned, the student activity fee provides partial funding for a lot of different departments and activities. It's recommended by SAC, reviewed, amended, and approved by student government. And then Dr. Jones makes his recommendation to President Davenport, which usually concurs with the student government recommendation. So again, by state law, if this is recommended to increase by more than 2%, it has to go to the student body for a vote. And we will do that at the same time as we do the student election. So we have what's called banded tuition here on campus, which means that you pay the same for 12 credit hours as you do for 18. And so we banned the student fees as well, with the exception of one of them, and that is the Students United fee that gets charged to every student as well. So by board policy, the most that this fee can be assessed at is $112.50 per semester. So that's the big fee. We can go on to the next one. The intercollegiate athletics fee, obviously, it partially funds intercollegiate athletics. This fee request is presented by Kevin Beisman and Tim Marshall next week, or excuse me, it'll be on the week after spring break is when this one will be presented, and they will consult this athletics fee advisory committee for recommendations. So I would be surprised I don't have students presenting this budget with them. Again, student government votes on a recommendation, and that goes through Dr. Jones up to President Davenport for approval. And you can see again what that is capped at $55 a semester. So this is the other fee that is subject to a student body vote if you're going to recommend an increase of more than 2%. The other fees are not. The student health services fee, the director of student health services, Wendy Shu, will likely be at the meeting with a member of the student health fee advisory committee to present this request as well. They've worked to put together their request based on funding needs and looking at the other sources of their revenue as well. And again, student government will vote on the recommendation, and that will go through Dr. Jones to President Davenport. And you can see the $75 cap per semester on that one. Like I mentioned, this one is not subject to a vote of the student body. Student union fee, Mark Constantine and Teresa Schwartz have worked with the CSU board to come up with this budget request and fee recommendation, and that will be presented next week. You will have that information, and then we'll vote on that on March 24th, and that will go through Dr. Jones to President Davenport. You can see a theme here. It always starts with the proposing department, goes to student government, and then up through Dr. Jones and President Davenport for approval. So no cap on the student union fee, and this fee is not subject to a vote of the student body as well. The tech fee, this is probably one of the fees that impacts students significantly because you use technology, especially now. It partially funds the operations, but it's not the only source of revenue for IT solutions. So they will be working with their advisory committee and presenting that fee request as well. Student government will vote on a recommendation, and it will work its way up to President Davenport. The max on this is $12 per credit hour. It used to be lower, but it was revised a couple of years ago as the cost of technology has increased. So the maximum that students would be assessed for that would be $144 a semester. And that is the other fee that is not subject to a vote of the student body. These fees, the next two fees are, for lack of a better phrase, are going to be, your vote on them is kind of going to be a formality, really, because there are fees that have been approved by student governments in the past and that have been given a time frame on them. And so the campus rec outdoor facility fee provides funding for the debt service on the fitness trail, some fields and lighting and structures out on the south side of the green parking lot over across the street from main campus. That's where a lot of that facility is. This was approved in fiscal year 2009. So this was assessed in the 2008-2009 academic year. And that fee will be assessed through fiscal year 28 as of right now. And so, like I said, it was approved then. They spent funds based on the approval of this fee, but student government will be made aware of this fee. Todd Fingston will present on it, and we'll just inform you, but the vote on this will largely be a formality. So, and the same with the most recent fee that was approved a couple of years ago, and that is the seasonal sports, the bubble fee, as a lot of you will know it. And so that was approved in fall of 19 for a period of 10 years. And so it basically will just be a thumbs up to continue that as it was agreed upon by student leadership at that time and by a vote of the student body. So your student body did vote for that overwhelmingly in a referendum vote of students at the time. I mentioned the 2%. This law has not always been in place. It's one that some state legislators who believed that spending was getting out of control and that students didn't have enough voice in it in their fees, they were concerned about that. And so there was a statute passed that has required that the student activity fee, if it increases by more than 2%, the fee needs to go to a vote of the student body. And we did not have that happen last year, but in years past, we have had increases of more than 2% that have gone to a vote of the student body. So this being said, what will be one of student government's tasks when it's deliberating these two fees is to have, if you're looking at a budget where you're going to recommend an increase of more than 2%, we're also going to suggest that you have what we call the back pocket option. So if the 2%, if say you recommend a 3% increase and it goes to a vote of the student body and it fails in a vote, what's the backup plan? You don't want to have to start from scratch and start all over again. So the suggestion would be to have a backup plan already approved at the time you do the student activity fee deliberation, to have that plan so that if it were to go to a vote and fail, you can have it ready to go. Okay, so the process, the budget hearing. When we talk about the hearing, that's the meeting that's going to take place on March 17th, the second Wednesday after spring break. At the meeting on the March 3rd, the Student Allocations Committee is going to release its budget recommendation. It goes public at that meeting, and then departments that are funded by the student activity fee will be able to see it. If they are happy with the recommendation, they're likely not to say anything. But if they believe that they are not being funded appropriately, they have the opportunity to appeal that recommendation to student government. So say, for example, student government's budget, which is part of the student activity fee line, say the SAC committee recommends $50,000 for your budget. The student government budget is way more than that, but if they were to recommend $50,000, student government would likely appeal that budget recommendation. They would come and try to make a case for a higher level of funding. Any department is not satisfied with its budget recommendation from SAC can make that appeal. They will be given 2 to 3 minutes to present at the student government meeting, and they will stand for questions. And then the Senate, you all, will discuss and make a recommendation. You can concur with the SAC recommendation or you can modify it. So like I said, if a group is satisfied with their recommendation, they're not going to say anything. And the key part that's underlined in that bullet point is that they're not going to attend that budget hearing unless somebody from student government asks them to do so. That's because sometimes their requests and their budgets are considered routine. There's nothing really controversial about it. And so they would assume that it's going to be viewed as such, and there would be no need for concern. That being said, if you look at the SAC recommendation that comes out on March 3rd and you have questions about it for the department, you can make a request that a certain department come before government. So say you look at the fraternity and sorority life allocation, you have some really deep questions about fraternity and sorority life, and you want me to come and be present to actually stand for questions, I can do that. And you can request for me to be there. You can do that with any of the lines on there. And that's your prerogative. The one thing I would tell you is that when we have that hearing on the 17th, if you haven't asked for a particular group to be present, it's largely assumed that there won't be adjustments made to a group's budget. You want to kind of be, you don't want to blindside groups necessarily when it comes to their budget allocation and their recommendation. So if you do have questions or you're considering something, it would be great to actually request the groups be present. During the meeting on the 17th, we'll go through every line one by one. Or if there's a group of them that you want to just say, yep, we're going to approve all of these at one time, you can do that. But we will approve the recommendations for each department line by line at that meeting on the 17th. So what we will likely do with those groups that have either asked to be present or those groups that are appealing, we will go through those first so that the people don't have to be present for the whole meeting. This meeting has been done as quickly as 4 hours, I want to say, and the latest we've gone is about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I think it just depends on the recommendations that come out and the questions that y'all might have. Some of the things to keep in mind as we get into the budget process, oftentimes students get this this idea that that the departments are out to make money. None of the groups on campus are for profit. None of them are making money. They actually spend the money on programs and services for students. So that's something to keep an open mind about. I mentioned the phrase be prepared, and this is a key thing about being prepared. If your question's basic ones, such as like, what does the department do? What does multicultural programs do with the money for those that they're allocated? That information's in their budget request and you can see it. And so we don't want to necessarily have a group come to the meeting to answer a question about what they do when they've already answered it for you in writing. All of the requests are going to be put in that Teams folder. So you'll be able to review all of the individual requests and see them ahead of time. So again, you're going to need to do some homework and be prepared and read through that kind of stuff. Also, if you are going to have a group come before you, it might not be a bad idea to give them a heads up as to what the questions are. Because if I'm not, again, I'm going to use mine as just an example. If I'm not appealing the recommendation for fraternity and sorority life, but yet student government is asking me to come and be present for the meeting for questioning, I'm not going to be prepared to talk about anything in particular because it's y'all who are wanting to ask me stuff. I don't have anything else to present because I presented to the SAC committee based on my my budget request and all of that. But I would suggest giving people a heads up so that they know what you might be asking them about, and don't be afraid to connect with them outside of the meetings. You're going to have roughly 3 weeks to actually contact departments and ask them questions. So if you have a question about fraternity sorority life budget, you want to ask me, reach out to me ahead of time and let me know, because you may not actually need me to appear before the Senate. The Student Allocations Committee is tasked with these recommendations. They've spent hours and hours and hours and hours in meetings. And so I want to encourage you not to feel like you have to go through and redo all the work that they've done. They do make some strong recommendations. They've considered the whole budget picture. While you have the ability to modify the stuff, they've done a lot of work to actually try to make it easier for you. That's their purpose. The last point I want to remind you, we use a base number of credit hours to estimate what the fee is going to be. 1 penny of student activity fee is $3,036. So why do I tell you this? If you are looking at somebody's budget request and you think they've been given $50, $100, even $500 too much money, or you want to give them $500 or whatever, specifically if you're looking at reducing. If you're looking at trying to reduce the fee, for every single penny that you reduce the fee by, you have to reduce budgets by $3,036. So if you're talking $50, $100, just keep in mind that it may not make a difference in the actual student fee if you're simply looking to reduce by what would be considered small change. Is that the last slide? Cool. So if Andrew can open up that Teams folder real quick, I'm going to just guide through some documents here that we've actually got so that those of you can see what you'll have access to.
Yes, one second.
Sure. While he's doing that, are there any questions about the stuff that I mentioned?
Yes, are there any questions? No?
Okay.
Okay, none yet.
All right, in this folder, you can see the presentation that I just gave. The fraternity and sorority life file that was there is an example of what one of the budgets is going to look like. Oh yeah, so in your folder, you've got budget documents, the resources. The first file is an example of the fraternity sorority life budget that would have been submitted. It's going to be something that looks similar to what other departments, what will be made available for you by the Student Allocations Committee, so you can see what the specific request is. This was my request for last fiscal year. This fiscal year is not in here. And so it tells you what I'm going to spend money on and what the breakdown of the actual spending is. So that's pretty basic for you. We can go back to the next document. Okay, so the Student Allocations Committee to make a recommendation. This lists all of the student activity fee funded areas, and you're going to have access to this file. It's going to show what their subsidy was for this year and their request for next year. So this is the document that was provided to student government last year. So the fiscal year 20 subsidy was showing what they were getting for last year. It was showing what they were requesting for this current year that we're in now. And then that last column that you see is the amount that SAC recommended. There's going to be another column added to that for the student government recommended. And that'll be the numbers that you all vote on March 17th. So you can see all of these departments. There will be a new department added this year. The Maverick Food Pantry is going to be added as a line on this budget this year. So you will be provided all of this information. You'll be able to see what they requested and what SAC has recommended. Let's see here. This was the narrative. So when they present their recommendation, they'll actually share a document that talks about what the different requests were and the recommendations. It'll be a quick version that's not in a spreadsheet format. This was last year's again. Okay, so the overall fee comparison document is an Excel document that considers all of the fees that we've been talking about. So you can see what we did with the various fees that the government makes recommendations on: the student activity fee, the student union fee, technology fee, health, the outdoor facility fee, the dome fee. And you can see the bottom right green square shows that for all of the fees for last year, or for the fees that you're paying this year, it was a cumulative 1.71% request, or 1.71% increase over the year before. So Vice President Maltari and President Trenny may share what their goal is in terms of overall fee requests with you. They have not shared that yet with me, but if they have a goal, they will let that be known so that we can look at where the fees are. You'll notice up there the student activity fee changed by 1.94%, so it did not need to go to a vote. And the intercollegiate athletics fee was a 1.78%, so it did not need to go to a vote either. This is what the document looks like after student government votes on it. We have some notes there that you can see, but the actual figures that student government voted on, there were some modifications. I think terribly big differences between what SAC recommended and what student government did, but there are some. And again, you'll have the right to do that during your meeting on the 17th. So this is the document. During your meeting, I will be sitting there working on this document, putting numbers in and watching the percentage change and giving an update where we are with those numbers. Yep, that's the PDF version of that same document. So pretty much that's what we've got. In this folder, you can't see them yet, but there will be a folder that will house all of the documents for the fee presentations that you're going to have next week and the week after spring break. So the supporting narratives, or if they want to share their presentation, the tech fee folks and CSU folks will be able to share that information. We'll put it in the folder for you. We'll also have documents in there so that if you have questions for those fee areas, you can type them in and we will send them to those fee funded areas so they can provide written responses to your questions. And so that, again, helps with the efficiency of that meeting, especially in a virtual format. and it can help hopefully avoid a super a long meeting on the 17th and the 24th of March for you. So I think that's it. This is like drinking from a fire hydrant, folks, when it gets to this point in the year. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit overwhelming over the next couple of weeks. The biggest thing, be prepared. So take a look at the fee requests from the student activity fee funded areas. Don't be afraid to ask Mark Johnson and Brian Schneider questions about this tech fee proposal when they present that next week, or Mark and the CSU board their questions, or Wendy Shu and the student health services folks. These folks are happy to answer your questions. So they want you to understand what you're voting on and what the funds are used for. And so be sure, ask those questions, and don't be afraid to ask myself or several of your veteran senators who've been through this process before, and your leadership. So it's a fun process. It's a big deal. And you get to really know how things work when you go through this. So I'd be happy to stand for questions now or later.
Wonderful. Before I call for questions, I'm just going to add on and say, don't be afraid to talk to each other too. If you have a big idea about some fee that you want to drastically change or you want to fund a different way, it's best if that's not sprung on everyone at the same time. So talk to each other, get each other's input. So like John said, we can have as efficient a meeting as possible.
Yeah, we just when it comes to being prepared, we don't want to blindside anybody during the presentation. So being as transparent as you can with especially the departments. If you're going to ask for them to be there, they have good questions for them, or give them a heads up if you're looking at adjusting a budget. So that would be helpful to know. So.
Wonderful. So at this point, are there any final questions for John? I know he covered a lot of information about that meeting. Any other questions? Any questions? Okay.
Do any of the, can I just ask real quick? There are several people from fee funded areas here. Did I miss anything about your areas or anything that would be helpful to clarify? I see Wendy and Dave Cowan's been through this a time or two as well, and Mark's probably in the room.
If I could say one thing, John, the one thing I'll also say is, and we've done this in the past, we give the allocation number, but it's not, we hold the power of the purse in the sense that if we don't feel a department should spend money on something, we can take it away, that's fine, but they can still spend it on whatever they want. You can't restrict how they spend their money. So so we're clear on that. We also have in the past fought over like grad assistants and if they're worth it. We also don't do that. That's not our decision to fire people. Like that was a big concern a couple of years ago of, oh, student government's going to fire workers. That's not for us to do. We just give the money. So just so that's clear.
And let me chime in, Madam Speaker, as well. When you look at those spreadsheets, there's a revenue column. And of course, the revenues for all of these programs, theater, you name it, athletics, have all been in the toilet here for the last year and a half. So don't beat us up just because our revenue is down when you look to a previous year.
Wonderful. Perfect. So was there any other feedback questions before we move on from this topic? Going once, going twice, sold. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to open forum now. Is there anybody here for open forum? Anyone here for open forum? Anyone? No? Okay. Then
I think Dr. Corley's here.
I don't see any notifications. Dr. Corley, are you here for open forum?
I'm here, and if you'd like me to say something, yeah, I'm here just because I'm supposed to be here today. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I have you for Dean of the Day, so we can move. We can have that at that point.
Okay, thanks.
President Trendy's calling you out. Okay. Then we will go ahead and move on to the approval of the consent agenda. There's nothing on the approval of the consent agenda. So we'll move past that, straight on to officer reports. President Trendy, it's your turn to speak. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. You know, when I was reflecting on what I was going to say today, I counted, by the way, we have 8 more meetings together as a student government. So what I want to say with that is we have a lot of work to do. So just continue, you know, progressing, doing your office hours, meeting with your constituents, doing your projects. You have 8 weeks left of your term. So if you're graduating, we're getting to the end of it, but also, look to what your legacy is and what you want it to be, and try to get things done that you want to do. This year we've had more power to accomplish things we've wanted to do than years past. So really chime into what you want to do. Let us know how we can assist you as well. Vice President Maltari and I and Speakers Fursel are all here to help and assist you guys. But just remember, 8 weeks, and the last meeting's a formality. So, so truly, we have 7 meetings left after this. With that, I have a couple updates. One, this weekend, our local legislators are doing town halls on Zoom. They're this Saturday, 9, and then there's another one at 10:30. That's with our state senator, state representative for this area, and then the state representative for St. Peter, who some of you may live in St. Peter, some of you don't. But so yeah, really go and chime in what you're about. They do represent you, even if you don't vote here. So talk about higher education. Talk about what will happen if we don't get our money. And what our tuition will happen. So really go and speak your mind. They want to hear from you. And I can send a link out to those Zoom meetings as well. The other thing happening is Students United. Thank you to everyone. I was going to find a list of who all went, but thank you everyone who went to delegates on Friday and all the other committee meetings. I think Speakers Fursel was there, Vice President Maltari was there, and a bunch of other people. Thank you for going. I was in class and I kept hearing great things, so thank you. And then the other thing we're working on, Students United is working on a sustainability commitment. Right now, the universities can sign on to I think it's carbon commitment, but not every university does. So we want to make it a student-driven carbon commitment for the university. So you'll see kind of more in like a couple of weeks and what we're doing for that. Because we really want to make sure universities are being more environmentally friendly and eco-friendly as well in their stuff they do on campus. The other thing, last thing for Students United is don't forget their scholarships are still there. They're due in April, so you really have a long time to do it, but consider doing it. As well as the student government scholarship, and then our as well. The other thing I want to mention is we had a budget sub-meet and confer on Tuesday, and the university is still moving forward with our course fee and online differential conversation. So really getting consulted on our course fees and how our online differential is charged and where it's going. I don't know how we're going to get it done this year. We might just form a group quickly and do it. So if you're interested as well on like affordability and financial sustainability of the university, let me know and we can get you connected with the people that are in charge of that as well. The other thing I was going to mention is the IFO in the last meeting confer, and Dr. V chime in if you ever need to as well. They are requesting a review of, how do I phrase this? They want to, I'm trying to find it actually, 1 second, before I speak. So they asked the group to look at the distinction between the BA and BS degrees on campus, including the role of a language requirement for undergraduate students. So we're a student government, we're looking for 1 to 2 students to serve on this committee or this work group. Meetings will be scheduled once the group is formed, and then it will meet twice this semester and twice next fall. So again, you have to be here next year, you can't graduate as well. And you don't have to be in student government next year if you just want to be on this. So again, like this is huge. So this is talking about the role of our degrees here in our academic programs. Yeah, so if there's anyone curious as well, let me know. And Dr. V chime in as well if you need to.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but y'all didn't want to hear the noise that was happening over here at that moment. I am happy to answer questions, but it is what Andrew suggested. Right now, we've kind of got courses that are in both the BA and the BS category. And so we're trying to figure out like why and is that a problem? And then right now, BA students are required to take 8 credits of a language, trying to figure out if that should continue.
Yeah, so it's pretty unique. I wish I could serve on it. So, because I'll be gone. But yeah, if anyone's interested, again, it'll be a commitment this spring and next fall. So with that, I yield for any questions.
Wonderful. Are there any questions for President Trenny?
I had one.
Senator Smith.
So if it were to be decided that the language requirement was to be taken away from the BA, would that apply for people in school at the moment, or would that be something that happens in the future?
I will let Dr. B answer that.
It would happen in future. So the way that these things work is, I guess, kind of similar to how you work. The work group is going to make a recommendation to the UCAP, Undergraduate Curriculum and Policy Submeet. That group is going to deliberate on it in the spring semester, make a recommendation to the provost at the time, whoever that person might be, and then that person will make a decision. It's in the catalog, but it's in a gray area where it's technically not policy, but it is historical language that's been in place for at least 4 years. So this is not a change that we're going to be making quickly. We need to be very deliberate about this.
Yep. So again, if you're interested in this whole conversation, let me know and we can get you on that work group. And again, it'll be next year as well. I yield.
Wonderful. Seeing no other questions, we'll go ahead and move on to Vice President Multari.
Hello, everyone. For my officer report, President really mentioned most of the things. I was also there. And for my updates, I just have 2 things. So President's Commission on Diversity is doing listening sessions, and they are discussing about what our university does well with diversity, what areas we can improve on, and what areas we can introduce to the university. I was one of the facilitators for one of the sessions. And yeah, I would really encourage you to join. There were a few students who joined. I would really encourage if we also have student government input in there. I would more request to attend one of the sessions that's available. There's a few more in the future. If you want, I can also forward some information in the chat or as an email to you all. Another thing I have is I am gonna schedule one-on-ones with you all in coming weeks, and I'll be sending out a sign-up sheet. So I would really encourage you all to sign up and let me know if we can figure out some other time if that doesn't work. I don't recall and President Shani mentioning the Senate Connection event that Student United does. So the next topic is going to be international students. So if your project involves international students, that is something you should attend, and it's going to be next month. So there will be minutes about it soon. And other than this, I think I yield.
Are there any questions for Vice President Walter? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. I have just a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to remind everybody, so for that meeting on March 17th, the budget meeting, instead of you guys going to committee and then the meeting starting at 4, we will be starting at 3. So if you have class during that time and you're not able to regularly make committee or you're busy during that time, reach out to John and he can provide a memo for excused class for the budget meeting. So just have that on your radar if you need that. Other than that, I don't really have a lot for you today. So Dean Corley, if you want to speak now.
Sure, thank you. Kara, how many minutes do I have? Is it brief?
Yeah, brief, like 5. Keep it under 5. Okay,
thank you. Is it possible to see if I can share the screen? I want to do some news on 2 issues. One that was a follow-up from when Carrie Miller and I spoke a couple of weeks ago. And that was on textbook affordability. I know that that's something that's all of your minds. There's one thing that I wasn't able to necessarily show you. And so I wanted to kind of give you a brief overview of that. There's an easy way to check and see whether your course has available textbooks for you in alternative formats. And this is something that the library faculty and staff have been working on since last spring. But if you go to the library services homepage and you click on textbooks and course reserves, which is right here. Hopefully, can you guys see that pretty well? Okay. Then you'll see a list of 397 courses that have textbooks available for you in one way or another. There's reference here to Student Government and Barnes & Noble collaboration for the Maverick Course Reserve program. So some of these books are print course reserve, right? Some of them are electronic, some of them refer to OER. There's two good examples that I can show you briefly. If you go to biology, one of the larger biology classes is Biology 105. And Dr. Hart's class there has the main textbook as an ebook. So it's open educational resource, and there's a link to that book. And then there's another book that she uses for her class, and the library faculty were able to obtain an ebook copy for that. So if you click on that, it'll take you to an ebook copy which you can use. The ebooks have different licenses depending on the vendor we buy them from. So in some cases, they're unlimited uses. In some cases, it's much like a situation where only 3 or 4 people could use them at the same time, but then they'd be available, you know, later on if they're not available at that exact moment for you. Another example that I can give you is Dr. Lalam's history class here. This is another popular course. Dr. Lalam has the traditional book within the Maverick Textbook Reserve program. It's available at the circulation desk for you. That's the next one here. And then another textbook, the print copy available for you at the circulation desk, and then an ebook copy there as well. So what you'll see is we put a lot of different options in one place so that students can find it, you know, as quickly and efficiently as possible. Okay, so I would encourage you to continue to have dialogue with your faculty members, asking them about whether some of their texts might be available as open educational resources or in the textbook reserve program. And the more that you advocate for this as an option for you, as a cost savings measure, the more faculty I think that you'll see kind of sensing the significance of this for you. Okay, are there any questions about that?
Are there any questions for Dean Corley? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No, seeing none.
Is that about all my time?
If you have something else to add, you
You're
can
a
add
good
it
time
briefly.
teacher, so I don't want to. I just want to give you a heads up. A lot of you have participated in undergraduate research. You might be doing so now. You might have before. We are a preeminent university nationwide for students to the National Council of Undergraduate Research Conference. Every year, send 30 to 50 students. One of the largest universities who participate. This year, the conference is virtual. So that's unfortunate because students can't travel, you know, and engage with other students around the country in the same way, but it does open up opportunities. One is that we were able to use funds that would normally be dedicated to that conference. And we know that there's a significant gap in undergraduate research at the freshman and sophomore levels. And we also know that there's a gap in underrepresented and eligible students. They don't participate as much. They're not aware of the opportunities. They're not present in the undergraduate research endeavors in the same numbers as majority students. And so what we've done is we've tried to create an experimental program, funds that we might have used for travel. And then Dean Dahlman was kind enough to really help us out with funds as well. And we also asked for faculty to volunteer to mentor freshmen and sophomore students in undergraduate research so that they can get involved in undergraduate research in a quicker fashion, be exposed to it a little bit easier. And we're doing this in a way that we are able to pay the faculty to mentor the students, and we're also able to pay the students. And so we were able to secure funding for 20 some faculty, I think 23 faculty, volunteer to be able to do this across all of our colleges. And then 30 students will be participating in what we call a research apprenticeship program. And we're hoping that it's successful. And we're also hoping that it's something that we might continue in future years as well. So I just want a heads up on that.
Wonderful. Were there any questions for Dean Corley about research or about anything? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for coming and speaking and updating us on all of those things. Wonderful. So seeing no questions, I'm going to go ahead and yield and we'll move on to Senator reports, starting with Senator Salim.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good. For my Senate report, this time what I have did is I did different things. I'll also include this data on the chat as well for anyone who's trying to look at it. So I've looked at past, basically what I did is like I looked in Minnesota, how many students of color, such as Black students that graduate from post-secondary school. What I found out is like, I found out this data, as I mentioned, I'll also add it on the chat. So since 2015 to 2020, there was only 34% to 37% of graduate student of Black that graduated from university. So the reason why I'm looking at right now this is just to see how many students are actually graduating in throughout Minnesota. Then I'll compare it with the graduate data after I found out. And then I've also didn't meet with my deans yet because there was some technical errors. So I'm also trying to meet with them as soon as possible. And also at the meantime, what I was working also will be, I'm trying to create a Zoom social hour for graduate students. Since, there's a pandemic going on, what I would like them to do is have a day, they can just meet an hour, just to socialize, how are things going, how they can help each other, and I'll be asking, help with Vice President Arnavi and President Andrew. I'll connect them about that. Also, the other thing I'm considering will be, I want to have a career day, institutional diversity, where students that are graduating, my focus is minority students. So minority students that are graduating, to have a day that they can meet and then talk about how they can, either if they want to extend, if they want to enroll in master programs, and basically answer the questions and then give them resources and guide them. So far I'm working on this, and then like I mentioned, I haven't met with my deans yet, and I'm planning to meet with them as soon as possible. Now what I will do will be, I don't have enough time, to open a discussion, but what I'm going to do is I will just share the data. This data also has many information, not only, it doesn't only have information about African-American students. It has information about Asians, also Hispanic, Native Americans, also white, Caucasians. And basically since 2015 all the way to 2020, there was not any growth at all, So the good thing about this data is Minnesota also have a goal by 2025. What they are planning to do is they want to make 70% of Minnesota have a college degree. That's what the legislators is working on. So for that information, I yield. So if there are any questions, I would like to answer.
Any questions for Senator Salim? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Next, I have Senator Wheeler.
All right. Hello, everyone. If you don't know, my name is Jack Wheeler, and I'm a senator representing off-campus students this year. For those of you who don't know, me and Samantha Larson's project for the semester is to provide more accessibility for students to fill their basic needs. I'm using the MavLife platform to reach a huge variety of students and trying to connect them with resources like mental health, accessibility to food, and the emergency grant program. Within the MavLife app, there will be a new chat feature where students can ask questions, learn more about what it means to have their basic needs fulfilled, and where to go for assistance. I'm pairing with over 4 departments and organizations here on campus, and I'm excited to announce that in the coming weeks, it will be available to all students, staff, and community. Once finalized, this new chat section will appear under the public channels within the MavLife app, and it will be super easy to connect with other students and departments on campus. This is a new opportunity for our campus, and I'm excited to see where it will come from here. I would like to give a huge shout out to Chris Line from the MavLife office here at MSU for making this opportunity become a reality and the willingness to take on my project. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Any questions for Senator Wheeler? Any questions? Senator El-Sadi.
First of all, congratulations, Jack. I just have a question about, so this new feature in the app, I'm more likely to contact the department or like just any other MSU students about any matter.
Yeah, so it's going to go under the same like discussion tabs as like it's going to go under like ride sharing or like rental properties or can't remember what the other one is. Just there's one that's on there too on the bottom, and it'll say basic needs. Or departments that will manage it, and they're going to put resources up, and they're going to answer questions from students. But I guess students can ask of any question they want regarding that. It's just going to be one of the tabs dedicated specifically for those like departments.
Okay. Wow. Congratulations, Jack.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing project.
Wonderful. Were there any other questions, Senator Wheeler? Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. So next up, I have Senator Hopwood.
Hey guys. So my project is I'm trying to incorporate more diversity amongst all of the residence halls because it seems kind of segregated right now. Crawford having the most of the minority students, and like for example, Julia Sears, which is my community advisor here, is I'm the only Black person on my floor. So you know, and I'm the only Black woman CA here. So I had emailed Torin and, you know, stated that there was concern amongst the residencies and not having equal amount of diversity amongst all of them, because I mean, there are students of a minority in Julia Sears, but, you know, it might be only 1 or 2 or a couple on each floor, or in my case, just. And so, you know, I just explained how it's important for students to feel comfortable and welcomed if, you know, there are people that, you know, they can relate to and look like them, instead of just being like, oh yeah, I go here and, you know, we both live here. And then another concern that I had brought to Torrin's attention was how there isn't bias training. And I just got done with the community advisor interviews for the upcoming CAs that come in and that they, you know, choose to pick, and we have to interview them with the hall directors, and we didn't receive bias training. And I had an appointment with my hall director, and I had asked if he had received bias training, and he said that he hasn't. So I feel like, how do you expect us students make sure that we're not judging and, you know, incorporating, you know, narrow-mindedness, or just like, you know, have predisposed notions amongst other students, despite if they are trying to judge them or not. You know, I feel like as long as they have the credentials to the position that they are pursuing, it shouldn't matter any other things that involve them, like, you know, race, religion, ethnicity, and any other thing that falls under that. So I made that present that I feel like we should get that, because my hall director, who came here from another university in Wisconsin, said that he did receive bias training. And I had a one-on-one with Andrew, and he told me that he had received bias training for looking for the president of this university. If they're receiving it, I feel like we should, because as students and CAs, you know, we all come from different backgrounds, and you never know what they may be thinking about other students that are applying for this position. And, you know, I don't want anybody to be jeopardized that is applying for the position by someone having unconscious bias that, you know, they are not aware of. And so I feel like we should incorporate that in the CA training and in the hall director training here. And so I'm hoping to get a response from Torin to see what he thinks about those two concerns that I had brought to his attention, and see where we can go from. So I hope it will be something positive, and maybe we can incorporate that in our CA training and hall director training, and we can figure out a way to, you know, spread out the diversity and get more students in the other residencies, and have everything, you know, more inclusive for everybody that comes to on campus here. So that's about it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Senator Hopwood? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Senator. Next, I have Senator Khan.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Manahil Khan. I'm a senator for College of Science, Information, and Technology. So I'm going to start with the projects that I've been working on. I have quite a few to report on. So starting with the very first project that I worked on is the Student Career Ambassador Program. I partnered with Career Development Center to work on this project. The idea behind this project and mainly this program was involving students into the career finding opportunities and internship finding opportunities for students. And why I say that is I was one of the students who were very involved into internships. I did an internship in my very first semester. And then I ended up with my friends coming up to me, asking me to help them find internships, or asking me how I got credit for internships, or interview process and all of those things. So I feel a lot of times students go to students for asking questions related to career. Yes, we have faculty and they're doing their job very nicely, but a lot of times you see students not going to faculty, because if I have a question, I think before I ask a faculty, even if that's worth asking or not, or if I can just do my own research, because you don't want to look stupid in front of faculty. That's why having a student ambassador who is there to provide information, career information, provide job information, internship information, that would just provide, we just want to get information out to students one way or the other. So I partnered with Karina, who is the Assistant Director of Career Development Center, and we met every other week. We started working on this project. The goal for the project was to leverage current well-connected Maverick students to create career education content and build communication centered on support and navigating internship and job search and hiring processes. The objective was to hire a team of student career ambassadors to create content and build community centered on the career development, promote curated content via Career Development Center websites, social and faculty communication. So mainly what we would do is we wanted to hire 2 or 3 students from every college. We would call these students or these positions the career ambassadors, student career ambassadors. And what they do is they would help Career Development Center when they're doing, so for example, when they come out with opportunities for internships, or they come up with the career fairs, a lot of times what you see is students not having the knowledge of those, not reading the emails, or just not attending these career fairs in the first place. So we want students to communicate out to students how important this is. A lot of times I see my friends not worrying about internships in their first and second year and leaving it on to their junior or senior year to get internships. And then at that point, it's just too high of a competition to find internships. So we started working on this project in the start of last semester. We met every week, talked about how this program would benefit, who this program would benefit, how will this initiative help the students of Minnesota State University Mankato, how will we measure the success, and what are you going to get out of this program. We talked about the budget for this project. I had a conversation with the dean of CSED of if we wanted to start this project, would they be interested in budgeting this? I did get some positive feedback from them, but it was going to be a long process with CSED. And then when I communicated that out to CDC, they were interested in budgeting that. So I then had several meetings with them working on the budget of how we want the positions to be and how we want to budget this project. Then we talked about, the next thing we talked about was the positions. So starting with the idea that I had was to have the student ambassador, career ambassadors positions. And we were looking for students mainly who are well-connected with other students who are good in communication, because we want to have them communicate it out to other students in a friendly communication. Then a question that came from CDC was who was going to manage these students. So I suggested that maybe we could have a GA position who could manage these student ambassadors, which was in the long run, they said, yes, they would be interested in doing something like that, but starting a new GA position is kind of a long shot. And if we wanted to launch this project soon enough, we had to go another route, for which we came up with another position, which would be the internship ambassador coordinator. This coordinator would be then managing all these students. We created a whole job description for this position and what they would be responsible for coordinating the efforts of all student career ambassadors, including hiring, supervision, performance of all student career ambassadors. It will sort of be like a project manager who would be responsible for all the duties of the student ambassadors. Then I have a whole 3-paragraph duties of the student coordinator that I could tell you, but it's going to take a long time. Then moving on, we went to creating the job description for the career ambassadors. So the students, which was probably like 3 students to start with. We created the job description, the duties, what we're expecting out of this position and all of that. Then we moved on to talking about the areas we wanted to focus on. Coming from computer sciences, I know that a lot of times what happens in the career fairs is 80% of the employers that come to the career fairs are for the engineering. And I found myself and then a lot of my fellow students not being able to find more of IT or computer opportunities in the career fairs. So the first area that I was going to focus on was the computer information sciences area, find more opportunities for them so that we have an equality of opportunities, because CSED is such a big college, and having one career fair, which is mainly focused on engineering, just doesn't seem fair to other students. Another area that I do not get enough attention was biology. The students who have been majoring in biology often say that they just never find any internship opportunities at the career fairs. So that would be another area that I talked about focusing on with Karina. Then just communicating with other senators in the academic committee meetings, I found out that mass media is another area, is another major that do not get a lot of opportunities. They do not find a lot of resources from school to find more internship opportunities. Then along with that, there's aviation management that often gets overlooked. So then we talked about all these areas we wanted to focus on, and moving along with this, I want to collaborate with other senators and see what career paths or what majors in their colleges that get overlooked and would be helpful to find them more opportunities for internships and jobs. The next thing we moved on to work was the student populations that we wanted to focus on. So starting with international students, finding out to find internships. Maverick Greeks is another big population. These students always focus on getting better grades because they have them to stay in that community, and then finding internship opportunities be a good area to communicate it out. Then honor students, and then grad students. So these are just the student groups that we talked about having to communicate it out to would be a good idea. And then, yeah, there's a whole bunch of a proposal that I worked on with them. I have gotten a very positive feedback from CDC for this, and we'll continue working on this and get it approved. And hopefully we will be launching this project by next semester. Next thing I want to talk about is the technology integration liaison. How I started with this was when I joined student government last semester. There was a lot of conversations within different committees, like the academic committee meeting, and then there was the thing going with dorm internet connection. But I saw that we do not have a senator, or we do not have a coordinator or a position who is there to talk about the technology integration. Maybe not important in the past, but now it is, because everything is on technology, and we really need someone, a position who is responsible for technology integration and making sure that students are participated in the decision making of major technology integration on campus. So I talked about it with Kara a little briefly last semester, and she recommended me to go to the IT Tech Committee and Mark Johnson to talk about it, in which I discussed them the idea behind what this position would do, and how important having a technology integration coordinator or senator or liaison is what I think we're calling now position would be. There's a whole bunch of details on that, but that will be something that we'll work more on. And then third would be I've been collaborating with Senator Hubbard, providing more career opportunities for students, and I think she can talk more about that in her senator report.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Senator. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Next, I have Senator El-Sadi.
Hello, everyone. First, I would like to start by apologizing for being 7 minutes late. In a perfect world, officials would probably quit after that, but I really hope you guys let it slide. With that being said, last Monday we had our SBS advisory board meeting with the dean of Dean Loiza, and with Elise, she is the director of communications and events in the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. So what the board is basically a group of students, we call them ambassadors, chosen by their colleges. For example, like the one thing that I like about SBS is that there's so many colleges with so many different perspectives, College of History, College of Government, Psychology. So basically we had a chance to talk with those students and to raise questions about things that they are currently facing in their Zoom classes. One thing that they did mention is that they want the interaction and engagement with other students, because it is currently limited because of COVID-19 restrictions. But this opportunity is a great way for students in the SBS to communicate with each other, to raise awareness on matters that they are facing in their classes and in their college journey. One thing that I really want to that I emphasized on ever since I've taken the position of being a senator for the SBS department is I want the engagement rate to be higher and higher as we go. So tomorrow, actually Thursday, February 18, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., we have our first SBS virtual bingo night. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to link it in the chat. So you guys better register today so you can join the fun tomorrow. I very good. I really yes, please go. I really want to promote it today in my Senate report. So please, I did the link in the chat. So if you are available, you're more welcome to. So this is like, one of the many initiatives that we're taking to just get the SBS students together to communicate together over bingo night, and hopefully the semester as we go. We have a meeting with the dean and the student advisory board. The SBS student advisory board is we want it as a weekly meeting, or like every 2 weeks we will have a meeting, so those student ambassadors can address their concerns. Yes, and with that, I yield. Thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you, Senator. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay. Next, we're going to move on to Senator Osman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So for my report, I have a couple updates. Last semester, I was working on this project with the aviation department chair about looking at the aviation management curriculum, and because we got so many complaints about the management students wanting to take more management classes in the aviation, and he did agree with me on that. But unfortunately, we didn't get far into that because the department chair got a job elsewhere and he left us. But we have a new department chair, and I'll be meeting with them soon to discuss that topic again. And then I've been also working on creating a survey for students to take at the end of the semester to give a feedback about the classes and also about the professor. The goal for this project is to hold the professors accountable. We found out during academic affair from Dr. V about the evaluation form that we fill out at the end of the semester that it's been only seen by your professors and they are not obligated to share it with their deans. So if you have any concerns about that, any professors, or your feedback, they only get to see it and they can do whatever they want with it. So we want to change that. But we also ran into a couple issues on that survey because we need to find out who needs to send it every year. And also we don't want to violate the the professors union law they have. So yeah, I've been working on that, but I don't have an update on it yet because I'm not done with that survey yet. But yeah, that's all I got for today.
Thank you. Any questions for Senator Osman? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Okay, thank you. Next up, I have Senator Parte.
Hello, everyone. My name is Parte. I'm the Senator of College of Education. For my new Senator report, I just have a few things. We discussed in Academic Affairs Committee to have closed captions for classes since they're online and are accessible for students to better understanding. And also the professors posting recorded lectures on D12 for the classes so that if students need to refer those, it is useful for the student. I talked this with my dean and the department is executing it from now on to make it better for the students. The another update I have is the College of Education is publishing their yearly magazine. Me along with our social coordinator and dean were able to bring the military science area into spotlight and give them a good shout out in the magazine. We also added some photos of the renewed Mankato Regional Airport, including the Maverick simulators too. With that, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the Senator? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, that concludes our Senator reports for the day. We have no vacancies. We have no new business. We have no old business. We are just left with announcements. Does anyone have an announcement? Any announcements?
I have an announcement.
Sure, Senator Ruiz.
Don't forget, you guys, if you guys are interested in helping out the campus kitchen, Chipotle is doing a fundraiser tonight. So if you are hungry tonight, definitely check them out.
Yes, and building off that, you can do pickup orders too and still have it go towards the campus kitchen. So definitely go support them. Is there anything else? Any other announcements from anyone?
I have a question with that. Do we have to show them a piece of paper, or do we just tell them that we want it, or does it automatically all proceeds that if you go today go towards the campus kitchen?
If you go in person and you order traditionally, just mention it. You don't have to show anything. If you order online for pickup, I'm not 100% positive. Senator Ruiz, do you know?
I can put the Facebook link to the original post.
Perfect.
Chat really quick.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other announcements from anyone? Any other announcements? Okay. Seeing none, then we are going to adjourn at 5:34 p.m. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and we will all see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the information, John. I'll go speak to Andrew about it.
You bet, Manav. I think just as the academic affairs coordinator, you'd be good with it. And then, like I said, I'd suggest having both a Bachelor of Arts student and a BS student on there, so that people know the difference and stuff. So somebody from liberal arts and sciences or arts and humanities. I mean, liberal arts and sciences is what it was called where I was. So, but yeah, then one of the sciences, yeah.
For sure, yeah, and I'll speak to Andrew about it during our one-on-one coming up, and try to see what I can do about that.
Cool, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yep. You good, Arnavi?
How are you, John?
Okay, just at home today, so yeah.
That's nice. I have so much homework. I've been just doing homework, and homework, and meetings.
Yeah. I've been trying to work lightly today, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm gonna get ready to go to class now. So yay. So.
But yeah, I'm just gonna go. I think come to office tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, I
might see you.
I should be back tomorrow. So.
Okay.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.